Lucky you're even sitting in this cabin. Now you want food and drinks too? Flight attendant Claire Donovan screamed in Maya's face, then snatched the coffee cup from her hand and threw it into the trash. From now on, you do not speak unless I allow it. The first-class cabin went silent. Maya Williams stayed seated in 1B. Her hand was still raised where the cup had been. A small splash of coffee had landed on the cuff of her charcoal blazer. On the tray table in front of her were her phone, her laptop, a printed confirmation email, and the boarding documents she had kept neatly together since leaving Atlanta's terminal. Claire stood in the aisle holding a silver meal tray. The label on it was clear: Maya Williams medical meal. Do not substitute. Maya looked at the label. Then, at Claire. Did you just take something from my hand and tell me I need permission to speak? She asked. Claire's face tightened. This meal is no longer available. My name is on it. It has been reassigned. Medical meals don't get reassigned. Claire shifted the tray slightly behind her, closer to the woman sitting in 1A. Victoria Langford leaned back in her seat, wearing a cream blazer, pearl earrings, and the calm expression of someone used to being served first. She hadn't pre-ordered a meal, but the moment she saw Maya's customized tray walk past, she had simply pointed a manicured finger and demanded it. Now Victoria looked Maya up and down and smiled without warmth. Don't make this dramatic, dear. Some of us have been flying first class longer than you've been alive. A few passengers uncomfortably looked away. In row 2, a man pulled his newspaper up to hide his face. Across the aisle, an older woman looked down at her lap, pretending not to hear. No one wanted to get involved. Only in 3A, Lena Ortiz glanced sharply between Maya, Claire, and the contested tray. Maya kept her voice level. Mrs. Langford did not reserve this meal. I did. It is part of my medical accommodation. Victoria gave a soft laugh. Medical accommodation. How convenient, Claire said. Mrs. Langford is one of our most valued Diamond Elite members. And what am I? Maya asked. Claire did not answer. Maya reached for the printed confirmation email and turned it toward Claire. This was confirmed through the app, by email, and at check-in. It says no seafood, low sugar, no peanuts, and no substitutions. I told your gate agent the same thing less than an hour ago. Claire barely looked at the paper. You can file a complaint after the flight. I am not asking to file a complaint. I am asking for the meal with my name on it. Victoria crossed her legs. Claire, please. We all have places to be. Maya turned toward her. So do I. Victoria's smile faded. Then behave like it. The words changed the cabin. The passengers who had been pretending not to listen were listening now. Maya set the email back down. That coffee was mine. You took it from my hand. This meal is mine. You are taking it from my reservation. I want your name and the name of your supervisor. Claire's eyes narrowed. You are becoming disruptive. I am sitting in my assigned seat. You are arguing with crew. I am asking you to honor a confirmed medical request. Victoria sighed. Some people should be grateful before they start making demands. At 2C, Samuel Reed turned his head toward Victoria. He was 72, traveling to New York to meet his first great-granddaughter. He had watched the exchange from the moment Claire raised her voice. He had seen the cup taken. He had read the label on the tray. He knew the difference between a misunderstanding and a choice. He looked at Maya and spoke quietly. Miss, don't give them your anger. Give them the record. Maya heard him. For a moment, she said nothing. She thought of the critical morning meeting awaiting her in New York, the culmination of 3 years of sleepless nights and relentless work. She looked down at her hand, which was beginning to trace a slight tremor as her blood sugar dipped. Looking into Claire's cold eyes, she remembered what her mother always told her. Calm does not mean surrender. Claire turned as if to leave with the tray. Maya felt a cold sweat prickling the back of her neck, not just from anger, but from her blood sugar beginning to dip after a grueling 10-hour workday. This meal wasn't a first-class luxury. It was a medical necessity to keep her standing. But Claire didn't care, and Victoria was already reaching for the silverware. Maya picked up her phone. Claire stopped, her knuckles turning white against the edge of the silver tray. What are you doing? Documenting this. You do not have permission to record crew members. Claire snaps, her voice rising. That is a direct violation of federal airline policy. I am documenting what is happening to me, Maya corrected, her voice entirely devoid of the emotional reaction Claire seemed to be begging for. Claire stepped closer, invading Maya's personal space. Her voice sank into a harsh, weaponized whisper. Put the phone down, Miss Williams. If you continue to film, I will have the captain flag you as an unruly passenger. You will be removed from this aircraft in handcuffs by airport police the moment we touch down at JFK. Do you understand me? Maya did not blink. Slowly, deliberately, she placed the phone flat on the tray table beside the printed confirmation email, ensuring the lens was aimed directly at Claire's name badge, and tapped record. For the record, Maya said, her voice echoing clearly through the silent cabin. My name is Maya Williams. I am seated in 1B on Crestline Airways Flight 608 from Atlanta to New York. I have a confirmed medical meal attached to this reservation. A flight attendant took my coffee from my hand, threw it away, and told me I could not speak unless she allowed it. The crew is now attempting to give my medical meal to another passenger who did not reserve it. I have just been threatened with arrest for documenting this. I am asking whether Crestline Airways is refusing to honor a documented medical accommodation. No one answered. The silence in the cabin was heavy, suffocating. Lena Ortiz lifted her own phone slightly from 3A. She was an emergency nurse, and what she had heard bothered her. The weaponization of the unruly passenger threat against a calm, seated woman was too much to ignore. Lena hit the record button on her own screen. Claire looked toward the front galley, her face flushed with a mix of fury and sudden, nervous panic. I'm getting Mr. Cole. We'll see if you keep recording when airport security is waiting at the gate. Please do, Maya said. Victoria leaned toward the aisle, her pearl necklace catching the dim cabin light as she shook her head with cold disdain. You are making a serious mistake, young lady. People like you always ruin their own chances by pushing too hard. Maya turned to her, her eyes piercingly calm. No, Mrs. Langford. I am making a record. Claire walked quickly toward the front of the cabin with the tray still in her hands. Victoria watched her go, then settled back as if the matter had already been decided. But the cabin's atmosphere had completely inverted. The man in row 2 had lowered his newspaper entirely, staring at the front galley in disbelief. The older woman across the aisle was whispering angrily to her husband. Samuel Reed sat upright, nodded once at Maya in silent solidarity, while Lena's camera stayed locked on the empty aisle. Maya remained in seat 1B, hands steady, phone on. Confirmation email visible. The plane had not left the gate. The flight had not begun. And already, Crestline Airways had a problem it did not understand. Claire disappeared behind the curtain at the front of the cabin. But her absence did not make the air easier to breathe. It made everything worse, because now everyone was waiting for the next person with more authority to arrive. Maya kept her phone exactly where it was, flat on the tray table, recording the aisle, the printed email, and the empty space where Claire had stood with her meal. She did not look at Victoria. She did not look at the passengers who had suddenly found the courage to whisper after finding none to speak. She kept her eyes on the confirmation page in front of her, reading the words she had already memorized. Confirmed medical meal. No seafood. Low sugar. No peanuts. No substitution. She had confirmed it twice the night before, once that morning, and again at check-in. That was how Maya lived. She checked. She prepared. She left as little as possible for other people to misunderstand. Her hand trembled again, so slightly that she closed it into a fist against her knee. From 3A, Lena Ortiz noticed. The nurse leaned forward a little. Miss Williams, she said quietly. Are you all right? Maya turned her head just enough to answer. I'm managing. That's not what I asked. Maya met her eyes. Lena looked to be in her early 30s, with dark hair pulled back into a practical bun and a hospital badge clipped to the side pocket of her travel bag. She had the tired, alert look of someone who had come straight from a shift, or from the kind of life where emergencies did not announce themselves politely. I have hypoglycemia, Maya said, and food allergies. That meal was scheduled with my medication window. Lena's expression changed immediately. Not panic, Assessment. How long since you ate? Maya glanced at her watch. Longer than I planned. Victoria gave another small laugh from 1A. Then perhaps you should have eaten in the terminal. Maya did not turn toward her. Lena did. Ma'am, this is not helpful. Victoria lifted her eyebrows. Excuse me? I said it's not helpful. For the first time since boarding, Victoria looked genuinely offended. Not by the danger, not by the insult, not by the fact that she was trying to eat another woman's medical meal. She was offended that someone had corrected her. Maya looked back down at her email. Her stomach tightened, partly from stress, partly from the familiar warning inside her body. She knew the sequence. First the tremor, then the cold sweat, then the narrowing of focus, like the world pulling itself into a smaller and smaller circle. If she was careful, she could manage it. If she ate properly, she could prevent it. That was why she had planned ahead. She had built a company the same way. Williams' Meridian Group was built on exposing the exact patterns of bias playing out in this cabin. For 3 years, Maya had engineered software that tracked how corporations quietly dismissed minority customers, treating their legitimate complaints as attitude or non-compliance. Crestline Airways had spent 6 quarters bleeding trust from public racial profiling scandals before begging her firm for a full-scale systemic overhaul. Tomorrow morning, Crestline's executive board was scheduled to sign an $80 million contract with her. They had no idea their final audit was happening right now. Live, in seat 1B, Maya looked toward the front curtain where Claire had vanished. Crestline did not know it yet, but its final interview was happening right now. Her phone buzzed softly on the tray table. A message from Naomi Price appeared at the top of the screen. Final board packet uploaded. Douglas Whitman's team confirmed 9 a.m. Rest tonight if you can. Maya almost laughed, but there was no humor in it. Rest. She turned the phone slightly so the notification disappeared from view. She did not want Claire, Victoria, or anyone else seeing the name Williams Meridian yet. Not now. Not before Crestline showed exactly who it was when it believed Maya was nobody important. Samuel Reed leaned toward her from 2C. You sure you don't want me to call someone over? Maya looked at him. Thank you, Mr. Reed. Samuel Reed. Thank you, Mr. Reed. But if they won't listen to the documents, I don't think another voice will change them. Samuel's mouth tightened. Sometimes another voice isn't meant to change them. Sometimes it's meant to show they had a choice. Maya held on to that. Samuel sat back, but his attention never left the front of the cabin. He had the posture of an old teacher waiting for a student to lie badly. His hands rested on a worn leather Bible in his lap. His wedding ring was loose on his finger. He had told the woman beside him before boarding that this was his first trip to New York in almost 15 years. His granddaughter had just had a baby girl, and Samuel wanted to hold her before his knees got worse. He had seen too much of America to mistake politeness for fairness. The heavy silence in the cabin wasn't passive anymore. It vibrated with uncomfortable tension. Maya could feel the eyes of the passengers in rows 2 and 3 locked on her. The threat of handcuffs and federal policy had stripped away their ability to look away. Maya didn't expect them to fight her battle, but the stillness reminded her of a harsh truth she wrote about in her research. In the face of systemic injustice, silence wasn't neutrality. It sounded like permission. If you feel Maya's pain in this moment, please like this video. Maya stayed calm, even when her medical needs were ignored and her dignity was challenged in front of everyone. And comment where you are watching from. Your city, your state, or your country. Who knows? There may be people near you watching this same story right now. Standing with Maya in silence too. Victoria tapped her fingernails on the armrest. This is absurd. I have flown this route for 12 years, and I have never seen such behavior. Maya finally turned to her. Neither have I. Victoria's face hardened. You think you're clever. No. I think I'm documented. Lena's phone remained angled toward the aisle. Miss Williams, did you say the meal is tied to medication? Yes. Do you have something with you? Glucose tablets? Juice? In my bag. Front pocket. Keep it close. Victoria muttered. Now we have a medical drama too. Samuel turned his head. Mrs. Langford, I'm old enough to remember when manners meant knowing when to be quiet. A sharp silence followed. Victoria looked at him as if he had insulted her in a language she did not expect from someone wearing a brown cardigan and holding a Bible. "I don't believe I was speaking to you." "No," Samuel said. "You were speaking loudly enough to make sure everyone heard." Before Victoria could answer, the curtain opened. Claire returned first. Behind her came a tall man in a Navy supervisor jacket with silver hair at the temples and a tablet in his left hand. His name badge read, Ethan Cole, In-Flight Service Supervisor. He walked with the controlled pace of someone who believed authority worked better when it did not hurry. Claire stopped beside Victoria first, leaned in, and whispered something Maya could not hear. Ethan listened without looking at Maya. His eyes moved from Claire to Victoria, then to the phone on Maya's tray table, then finally to Maya herself. That order told Maya enough. Ethan stepped into the aisle beside seat 1B. "Miss Williams," he said, smooth and cold. "I understand we're having some difficulty." Maya looked up at him. "No, Mr. Cole. Your crew is having difficulty honoring a confirmed medical accommodation." Claire exhaled sharply. "She has been recording us." Maya tapped the printed email once. "After your flight attendant took my coffee, threw it away, and threatened me." Ethan's gaze did not move to the email. It stayed on Maya's face. "Let's lower the temperature," he said. "My temperature is not the issue." A few passengers shifted in their seats. Ethan's smile thinned. "Miss Williams, I'm going to give you an opportunity to resolve this respectfully." Maya recognized the trap immediately. Respectfully meant quietly. Resolve meant surrender. Opportunity meant warning. He held out his hand. "First, turn off the phone." Maya did not move. "Second," Ethan continued, "we will provide you with a standard first-class dinner and a courtesy credit. Third, you will allow Mrs. Langford to receive the special meal already reassigned to her, so we can prepare for departure without further disruption." Maya looked at the tray in Claire's hands, then back at Ethan. "That meal was not reassigned to her," she said. "It was taken from me." Ethan lowered his voice. "Be very careful with your words." Maya kept her hand beside the phone. Behind Ethan, Victoria smiled again, small and satisfied. But Lena's camera was recording. Samuel Reed was watching. The passengers who had looked away were no longer able to pretend nothing was happening. And for the first time that night, Maya saw it clearly. Claire had started the cruelty. Victoria had demanded it. But Ethan was there to turn it into policy. Ethan Cole stood over Maya with his hand still extended toward her phone. Maya did not touch it. "Miss Williams," he said, "I need you to understand something. Once an instruction is given by crew, continued refusal becomes a compliance issue." Maya looked at the printed confirmation email. "Then give me a lawful instruction, not a threat." Claire's lips parted, but Ethan lifted one hand to stop her. His smile stayed in place, but his eyes changed. He had expected embarrassment to work, then pressure. Now he was deciding whether fear would do what the others had not. "This is a commercial aircraft," Ethan said. "Not a courtroom." "No," Maya replied. "But it is still a place where records matter." Victoria shifted in 1A. "This is exactly what I meant. She is turning dinner service into a performance." Lena Ortiz raised her voice from 3A before Maya could answer. "She is asking for a meal with her name on it." Ethan turned slowly toward Lena. "Ma'am, I'm going to ask you not to interfere." "I'm not interfering. I'm witnessing." Claire let out a short breath. "Everyone suddenly wants to be a lawyer." "No," Samuel Reed said from 2C. "Some of us just know wrong when we see it." Ethan looked at Samuel with a controlled patience that did not reach his face. "Sir, we are handling the situation." Samuel glanced at Maya's tray table. "You're handling her documents the way a child handles vegetables. You keep pushing them aside and hoping nobody notices." A few passengers reacted quietly. Not laughter, exactly. More like a release of tension that had been trapped too long. Ethan heard it, and his face tightened. "Enough," he said. The cabin went still again. Maya felt the tremor in her hand return. She kept her fingers flat against her knee so no one would see it. Her stomach felt empty, in a way that was beginning to sharpen. She knew the danger signs well enough not to dramatize them. She also knew them well enough not to ignore them. "Mr. Cole," she said. I have a documented medical meal. I have a documented allergy. I have a documented blood sugar condition. Your attendant took my drink and is holding the only confirmed meal I can safely eat. This does not require debate. It requires correction. Ethan finally looked down at the paper. He did not pick it up. Medical requests are accommodated whenever possible, he said. This one was accommodated. It is on that tray. It was adjusted. It was taken. Victoria leaned toward Ethan. I am sorry, but I refuse to be blamed because this young woman failed to manage herself before boarding. Maya turned her head. You requested my meal. I requested appropriate service. You requested a tray with my name on it. Victoria looked at Claire. I never saw a name. Lena spoke immediately. I did. It says Maya Williams. Medical meal. Do not substitute. Claire's face hardened. You're filming too, aren't you? Lena did not lower her phone. Yes. Ethan took a step toward her. Turn it off. No. Ma'am, if you continue recording, I can include you in the report as well. Lena's eyes narrowed. You can write whatever you want. I know what I'm watching. Ethan held her gaze for a moment, then turned back to Maya. He seemed to understand that the situation was no longer contained. That made him more dangerous, not less. Men like Ethan did not always retreat when watched. Sometimes they escalated, so the record would show confidence instead of doubt. He opened a form on his tablet. Miss Williams, he said, I'm documenting that you were offered reasonable alternatives and declined them. Maya's voice stayed calm. That is false. You were offered a standard dinner, with seafood sauce, Claire said quickly. We don't know that. Maya looked at her. You opened the lid in front of me. Claire looked away. Ethan typed something. You were offered a courtesy credit. A credit is not food. And you are currently recording crew after being instructed not to. I am recording misconduct. Ethan stopped typing and looked at her. I'm going to say this once more. Turn off the phone and sign the reconciliation statement. If you cooperate now, this can remain a customer service issue. Maya looked at the tablet in his hand. And if I don't, then it becomes a safety issue. There it was. The word he had been reaching for. Safety, not fairness, not documentation, not medical need. Safety, the word that could open doors, summon police, justify restraints, erase context, and turn a seated woman into a threat. Maya felt the old pressure settle over her ribs. She thought of her mother after a hospital shift, still in scrubs, telling her that some people called you difficult the moment you stopped making their lives easy. She thought of her father teaching her to keep receipts in a folder, to write down names, to confirm everything twice, not because paperwork could protect you from cruelty, but because it could survive after cruelty lied. Ethan rotated the tablet toward her. A short form filled the screen. Passenger acknowledges disagreement regarding meal service. Passenger agrees to discontinue recording and accept alternative service. Passenger confirms no further crew action required. Maya read it once. This says nothing about the coffee, she said. Nothing about the threat. Nothing about the medical label. Nothing about Mrs. Langford taking the meal. It is a reconciliation statement, Ethan said. It is a cover story. Claire stepped forward. You are unbelievable. Maya looked at her. No, I'm still here. Victoria laughed quietly. For now. The older woman across the aisle finally spoke. Her voice was thin but clear. That was unnecessary. Victoria's head snapped toward her. Excuse me? The woman swallowed, then continued. All of it has been unnecessary. The girl has paperwork. Maya noticed the word girl, but she also noticed the courage it had taken for the woman to say anything at all. The woman's husband touched her sleeve, nervous, but she did not take it back. Ethan looked around the cabin. Too many eyes were on him now. The man with the newspaper had folded it completely and placed it on his lap. Samuel Reed watched him without blinking. Lena recorded. Maya's phone recorded. Even those who had looked away were no longer able to pretend they had not heard. Ethan lowered his voice again, aiming it only at Maya. You think this helps you? He asked. I think the truth helps everyone eventually. You are risking your morning over a meal. Maya held his gaze. No. You are risking your airline over how you treat people when you think they do not matter. For the first time, Ethan had no immediate reply. Claire moved closer to him, speaking under her breath. "We need to finish boarding." Victoria's patience broke. "Mr. Cole, I have tolerated enough. I was promised proper service on this flight. If your airline wants my continued loyalty, I expect this to be resolved now." Ethan turned to her with a softer tone. "Mrs. Langford, we appreciate your patience." Maya watched that tone land. The gentleness, the apology, the immediate respect. Claire held the tray as if it already belonged to Victoria. Lena zoomed in slightly. Samuel shook his head once. Ethan faced Maya again. "Last opportunity. Accept the standard dinner, discontinue recording, and sign the statement." Maya felt another wave of cold sweat at the back of her neck. She reached into her bag for the small case of glucose tablets, but her hand paused before she opened it. She did not want to look weak in front of them. Then she hated that thought. Her health was not weakness. Their cruelty was not strength. She took one tablet and placed it on her tongue, buying herself time. "I will not sign a false statement," she said. Ethan's jaw tightened. "Then, I will inform the captain we have a non-compliant passenger refusing crew instruction." Lena spoke up. "She is not non-compliant. She is hungry and medically at risk." Ethan did not look at her. "This does not concern you." "I'm an emergency nurse," Lena said. "It concerns me now," Claire muttered. "Of course she is." Maya heard the contempt in it. So did Lena. Victoria reached toward Claire. "May I at least have the tray before it gets cold?" The request was so casual that it silenced the cabin again. Claire hesitated, but only for a second. Then she moved toward Victoria. Maya watched the tray pass fully out of her reach. Her name was still on it. Ethan stood between Maya and the aisle, tablet in hand, already preparing the version of events he wanted to survive. Maya looked at her phone, still recording, then at Lena's phone, then at Samuel Reed, who sat with his back straight and his eyes heavy with grief. She had entered that aircraft prepared to sign a contract the next morning. Now she was gathering evidence against the company that wanted her signature. Victoria unfolded her napkin. Claire set Maya's medical meal in front of her, and Ethan Cole, without looking back, walked toward the cockpit to tell the captain that Maya Williams had become a problem. Ethan did not go straight into the cockpit. He stopped first in the forward galley, pulled the curtain halfway closed, and spoke to Claire in a low voice. Maya could not hear every word, but she could see enough. Claire's shoulders were tense. Ethan's finger moved across his tablet. Claire nodded too quickly, the way people nod when they are trying to convince themselves they are still in control. Victoria had already begun cutting into Maya's meal. The label was still on the side of the tray. Lena Ortiz lifted her phone a little higher from 3A. Samuel Reed saw the label too. So did the man in row 2. The older woman across the aisle leaned toward her husband and whispered, "That's her name on it." Maya heard her, but she kept her eyes on the front galley. Her body was demanding attention now. The glucose tablet helped, but not enough. Her hands still carried a light tremor, and the cold sweat on the back of her neck had not faded. She took a slow breath and reached for her water. Claire saw the movement and stepped out of the galley. "Do not touch anything on the service cart." Maya looked at the bottle in her own seat pocket. "It's my water." Claire stopped, embarrassed for half a second, then covered it with irritation. "You need to stop acting like every word is an attack." Maya opened the bottle carefully. "Then stop attacking." Victoria placed a forkful of food in her mouth and chewed with deliberate calm. "It's a little bland," she said, looking at Claire, not Maya. "But at least it's clean." Lena's face changed. She had heard plenty of cruel remarks in emergency rooms, usually from people in pain or fear. Victoria was neither. She was comfortable. That made it worse. Samuel Reed turned toward Victoria. "Madam, cruelty is not class." Victoria lowered her fork. "I beg your pardon? You heard me." A few passengers looked at Samuel with surprise. He did not look like a man interested in confrontation. He wore a brown cardigan, polished old shoes, and a wedding ring that had thinned with age. But his voice held. Victoria stared at him. "You don't know who I am." Samuel nodded once. "That seems to be the problem with a lot of people tonight." Claire stepped between them. "Sir, please remain calm. I am calm, Samuel said. That doesn't mean I'm blind. Maya felt something in her chest tighten. Gratitude, maybe. Or sorrow that a 72-year-old man had to say what trained professionals refused to admit. Lena leaned toward Maya. You need real food soon. I know. Do you have anything else in your bag? Glucose tablets. That's it. How many? 3 left. Lena's jaw set. That is not enough for a full flight. Maya glanced at the tray in front of Victoria. It was not supposed to be. At the front, Ethan returned from the galley without the easy smile he had worn earlier. He was carrying a printed form now, folded once in his hand. Claire followed close behind him. Miss Williams, Ethan said. I've spoken with the captain. Maya kept her phone recording. And he has been informed that you are refusing crew instruction, recording personnel, and escalating a service matter in a way that may interfere with departure. That is not what happened. That is what has been documented. Lena spoke from behind Maya. Then your documentation is false. Ethan's eyes moved to her. Ms. Ortiz. Lena Ortiz. Emergency nurse. Seat 3A. Miss Ortiz, unless you are asked for assistance by the crew, I need you to stop involving yourself. Lena sat forward. I am involving myself because she is showing signs of hypoglycemic distress. Claire sighed loudly. She is sitting upright and speaking clearly. That does not mean she's fine, Lena said. That means she's trying to stay fine. Ethan ignored that and placed the folded paper on Maya's tray table, beside her phone and confirmation email. This is the reconciliation statement. Sign it, turn off the recording, and we will provide alternative service. If you refuse, the captain is prepared to have authorities meet the aircraft at JFK. Maya looked down at the paper. It was the same lie from Ethan's tablet, now printed as if paper made it more official. Passenger refused reasonable meal alternatives. Passenger continued unauthorized recording after crew instruction. Passenger agreed to accept standard service and discontinue disruptive conduct. Maya read it twice, slowly. Then she looked up. You left out the coffee. Ethan said nothing. You left out Claire taking it from my hand. You left out the medical label. You left out Mrs. Langford eating the meal with my name on it. Victoria set her fork down. Oh, for heaven's sake, Maya continued. You also left out the threat to have me arrested for recording what you're doing. Ethan leaned closer. Miss Williams, I strongly advise you to think about your future before you choose to make this worse. The words landed exactly where he aimed them. Maya had a company, employees, a contract, a reputation that had taken years to build and minutes to damage. A false police report could travel faster than an explanation. The label, unruly passenger, could become a headline before her legal team even knew she had landed. For 1 second, fear moved through her. Then she heard Samuel's voice from earlier. Give them the record. Maya picked up the pen Ethan had placed beside the paper. Claire relaxed a little. Victoria smiled. Maya wrote 3 words across the signature line. I do not consent. Then she placed the pen down. Ethan's expression hardened. That was unwise. No, Maya said. That was accurate. Lena's phone captured the paper. Can you hold that up? She asked. Maya lifted it just enough for the camera to see. Ethan stepped forward. Do not film that. Lena did not move. You gave it to her. You are interfering with crew operations. I'm documenting a passenger being pressured to sign a false statement while medically at risk. Claire snapped. She is not medically at risk. She is being dramatic. Lena stood up halfway from her seat. I've treated enough patients to know the difference between dramatic and deteriorating. The word deteriorating changed the cabin. It was not emotional. It was clinical. It made people look at Maya's face, her hands, the way she was sitting too still. The older woman across the aisle finally spoke louder. Can't you just get her something safe to eat? Claire turned on her. Ma'am, please stay seated. She is seated, the woman replied. And hungry. Victoria pushed her tray slightly away, annoyed now. If she needed it so badly, she shouldn't have let this become a production. Maya looked at the tray, then at Victoria. You are eating the production. A sharp silence followed. Samuel made a small sound. Almost a laugh, but sadder. Ethan took the reconciliation paper back from Maya's tray table. His voice dropped. "I will be reporting non-compliance to the captain," Maya said. "Make sure you report the name on the meal." Ethan turned toward the front. Claire moved with him, but before leaving she leaned close to Maya. "When police are waiting at JFK, remember you chose this." Maya looked up at her. "No, Claire, you did." Claire's face flushed again. She walked away before she could answer. Lena sat back slowly, still recording. "Miss Williams, I need you to listen to me. If you feel dizzy, confused, or your vision changes, tell me immediately." Maya nodded. "I will. You shouldn't have to manage this alone." "I'm not," Maya said. She looked at Lena, then Samuel, then the older woman across the aisle, who no longer looked down. The cabin had not become brave all at once, but something had shifted. People were beginning to understand that silence was no longer neutral. At the front of the aircraft, the cockpit door opened. Captain Richard Mallory stepped out. He was tall, late 50s, with silver hair and 4 gold stripes on his shoulders. His face carried the practiced impatience of a man pulled away from what he considered more important. Ethan met him near the galley and spoke quickly, tablet in hand. Claire stood beside them, nodding at the worst possible moments. Captain Mallory looked down the aisle toward Maya. He did not look at the tray in front of Victoria. He did not look at Lena's raised phone. He did not look at the printed email beside Maya's hand. He looked at Maya first, and Maya knew, before he took a single step toward her, that he had already been told which passenger was supposed to be the problem. Captain Mallory walked down the aisle with Ethan on one side and Claire half a step behind him. He did not hurry. He moved like a man who expected the cabin to make room for him before he asked. The passengers watched him come forward. Victoria straightened in 1A and adjusted the napkin on her lap. Lena kept her phone steady. Samuel Reed folded both hands over his Bible and looked at the captain the way he might have looked at a student about to choose the wrong answer even after being warned. Captain Mallory stopped beside Maya's seat. "Miss Williams," he said. "I'm Captain Richard Mallory. I understand we have a situation." Maya looked up at him. "Captain, your crew has my confirmed medical meal and gave it to another passenger. That is not the report I received." "I'm sure it isn't." Ethan shifted behind him. Claire's eyes flashed. Captain Mallory glanced at Maya's phone on the tray table. "I also understand you have been recording crew members after being instructed to stop. I began recording after your flight attendant took my coffee from my hand, threw it in the trash, told me I could not speak unless she allowed it, and attempted to give away my medical meal." Claire spoke quickly. "Captain, that is not how it happened." Maya turned the printed confirmation email toward him. "Here is the confirmation. It includes my seat, my name, my medical meal, and the restrictions. No seafood, low sugar, no peanuts, no substitutions." Captain Mallory looked at the paper for less than 2 seconds. "Miss Williams, I'm not here to review catering details." Lena spoke from 3A. "Captain, it's not catering. It's medical." He turned toward her. "And you are?" "Lena Ortiz, emergency nurse. Seat 3A. She is showing signs of hypoglycemic distress." Captain Mallory's face tightened, not with concern, but irritation at having the conversation widened. "Has she requested medical assistance from the crew?" Maya answered before Lena could. "I requested the meal your airline confirmed. That is not what I asked. And my answer is still relevant." Victoria set down her fork with a small click. "Captain, I'm sorry, but this has gone on long enough. Some of us have connections in New York and meetings in the morning. I have never seen a passenger create so much trouble over dinner." Maya looked at the tray in front of Victoria. "You mean my dinner?" Victoria rolled her eyes. "It's already been served." Samuel Reed spoke calmly, with her name still on it. Captain Mallory looked at Samuel. "Sir, please allow the crew to handle this." Samuel nodded toward Victoria's tray. "That's what worries me." A few passengers murmured. The captain heard it. His expression hardened. "Everyone needs to remain seated and quiet," he said. "This aircraft cannot depart while this continues." Maya kept her voice steady. "Then correct the issue before departure. Miss Williams, the crew has offered you alternatives. They offered me food I cannot safely eat and a document that misrepresents what happened." Ethan said. "She refused. The reconciliation statement." Because it was false, Maya said. Captain Mallory lifted a hand. Enough. I will not conduct a hearing in first class. Maya felt another wave of weakness move through her body. She placed one hand flat on the armrest. Lena noticed immediately and leaned forward. Maya, are you dizzy? A little. Lena's tone sharpened. Captain, she needs safe food or medical evaluation. Claire said. She has glucose tablets. She already took one. Lena stared at her. That is not a meal. Captain Mallory turned back to Maya. If you are medically unable to fly, we can have you removed and evaluated before departure. The sentence sounded helpful for half a second. Then Maya heard what was beneath it. Removed. Before departure. The fastest way to solve the airline's problem was not to return her meal. It was to remove her from the aircraft. I am able to fly if your crew gives me the meal I reserved, Maya said. The meal has already been served. To the wrong passenger. Victoria picked up her water glass. Captain, she is clearly unstable. Lena snapped. She is calm. You are eating her medical meal. Victoria's face turned red. How dare you? I'm a nurse, Lena said. I dare because I know what happens when people ignore symptoms. Captain Mallory took a breath through his nose. Miss Ortiz, if medical assistance is required, the crew will request it. Until then, I need you to stop escalating. Lena's mouth opened, then closed. She looked at Maya, furious, but careful. Maya understood the trap. Anyone who spoke for her became part of the disruption. Anyone who recorded became interference. Anyone who questioned the crew became a threat to order. Ethan's report was already building itself around them. Captain Mallory leaned closer to Maya. Miss Williams, I am giving you a direct instruction. Turn off your phone, accept the alternative service, and stop challenging the crew's decisions. Maya looked at him for a long moment. Captain, are you ordering me to stop recording evidence of discrimination and medical negligence? The cabin went silent again. Captain Mallory's eyes narrowed. I am ordering you to comply with crew instruction. Which instruction specifically? To stop recording. Why? Because you are interfering with crew duties. I am seated. My phone is on my tray table. I am not blocking anyone. I am not yelling. I am not threatening anyone. What duty am I interfering with? Captain Mallory did not answer immediately. The older woman across the aisle whispered, That's a fair question. Her husband looked terrified, but this time, he did not stop her. Ethan stepped in. Captain, we are now beyond meal service. Passenger has refused multiple attempts at resolution. Maya turned toward him. You mean I refused to sign a lie? Ethan ignored her. I recommend law enforcement. Meet the aircraft at JFK if she continues. Lena's phone caught the words clearly. Captain Mallory's face closed. Miss Williams, if you continue to refuse, I will have authorities meet this aircraft upon arrival. Maya's throat tightened. She thought of the morning meeting. She thought of Naomi, of her staff, of every headline that could begin with Black woman detained after flight disturbance. She knew how quickly a false frame could travel, but she also knew that if she turned off the phone now, Ethan's report would become the only official story. She touched the edge of her printed email. My name is on the meal, she said. My medical restrictions are in your system. The woman in 1A is eating it right now. Your crew took my coffee, threatened me, offered unsafe food, and tried to make me sign a false statement. If you call police on me for documenting that, then say it clearly on camera. Captain Mallory's jaw moved. You are refusing a direct instruction. I am refusing to help you erase what happened. Victoria muttered. Unbelievable. Samuel Reed leaned forward. No, ma'am. What's unbelievable is that it took 5 adults and 3 uniforms to steal one young woman's dinner. Claire's face twisted. That is not what this is. Then give it back, Samuel said. No one moved. Victoria stared down at the half-eaten tray. For the first time, something like discomfort crossed her face. Not guilt. Discomfort. There was a difference. Captain Mallory turned toward Ethan. Document continued. Non-compliance. Ethan nodded. Lena spoke into her phone, clearly and steadily. For the record, Captain Mallory has been informed that Miss Williams has a documented medical meal, that the meal is currently being eaten by another passenger, that she has allergies and hypoglycemia, and that she is showing symptoms. He is choosing to document her as non-compliant instead of returning the meal or seeking medical support. Captain Mallory turned sharply. "Miss Ortiz, stop recording." "No," Lena said. The word was simple. It changed something. One by one, passengers began taking out phones. Not everyone, not even most, but enough. The man in row 2, the older woman across the aisle, a college-aged man farther back near the curtain. Small screens rose in the dim cabin. Claire looked around, panic showing now. "You can't all record crew." The man in row 2 finally spoke. "We can record what we're seeing." Ethan's control slipped for half a second. "This is becoming a security concern." Maya looked at him. "No, it is becoming witnessed." Captain Mallory had had enough. He turned toward the front of the plane. "Prepare the report. I want airport police notified before arrival if this continues after takeoff." Maya's phone buzzed again, but she did not look down. At the front of the cabin, Claire took Victoria's tray and cleared it quietly, though the meal was only half finished. The label with Maya's name was still attached. Lena zoomed in before Claire could turn away. Maya saw it happen. She also saw Ethan notice. For the first time that evening, Ethan Cole looked afraid. Not of Maya. Of the record. The aircraft pushed back from the gate 12 minutes late. No announcement mentioned why. Captain Mallory's voice came over the speakers with the usual calm about weather in New York, expected flight time, and crew preparing for departure. He sounded steady, almost bored. To anyone who had just put on headphones in economy, nothing was wrong. In first class, no one believed that. Maya watched the terminal lights slide past the window as the plane began its slow crawl toward the runway. Her phone was still recording on the tray table. Lena's phone was still recording from 3A. Samuel Reed sat with both hands folded, eyes forward. Victoria Langford stared out the window of 1A, pretending the tray with Maya's name had never existed. Claire moved through the cabin, collecting glasses with tight, mechanical motions. When she reached Maya, she stopped. "Tray table up for departure." Maya looked at her phone, then at Claire. "I can hold it." "Tray table up," Claire repeated. "And all electronic devices secured." Lena leaned forward. "Phones can stay on airplane mode during taxi and takeoff." Claire turned. "I wasn't speaking to you." Maya picked up her phone and held it in her hand, keeping the camera low. With her other hand, she lifted the tray table into place. "There. Compliant." Claire stared at the phone. "You are still recording. I am still documenting. You were instructed to stop. And I was threatened with police for recording. That is part of what I'm documenting." Claire's face went red. For a moment, it looked as if she might reach for the phone. Lena moved first. "Do not touch her phone," Lena said. Claire froze. The warning was quiet, but it had force. Claire looked around and realized at least 3 other passengers had their phones out now. She stepped back, but her voice stayed sharp. "You people are making a routine service issue into something ugly." Samuel Reed looked at her. "No, ma'am. You did that when you took the cup." Claire walked away before she could answer. Maya pressed her shoulders into the seat and tried to slow her breathing. Her body felt wrong now. Not collapsing. Not yet, but unstable. The glucose tablet had helped for a few minutes. The stress was burning through it faster than she liked. She had one hand around her phone and the other pressed lightly against her thigh to hide the tremor. Lena noticed anyway. "Do you have a meter?" she asked. Maya nodded toward her bag under the seat. "Front pocket." "May I?" Maya hesitated only a second, then nodded. Lena unbuckled, reached forward carefully, and pulled the small case from Maya's bag. Claire saw her from the galley. "Ma'am, sit down. We are taxiing. I'm checking a passenger with a medical condition. You are not authorized to provide medical care." Lena looked up. "Then, authorize safe food." Ethan Cole stepped out from the front galley before Claire could respond. He had a printed report in one hand now. Maya saw her name at the top. "Miss Ortiz," Ethan said. "Return to your seat." Lena stayed low beside Maya. "I will, as soon as I make sure she is not about to crash." Ethan's voice dropped. "You are creating a second compliance issue." Lena opened the case. "Write that down too." Maya almost told Lena not to risk herself, but the words did not come out. Her mouth felt dry. She looked out the window and saw the wing lights blinking in the dark. Lena pricked Maya's finger with practiced speed. The small meter took the strip. Seconds passed. The number appeared. Lena's expression changed. "What is it?" Maya asked, low enough that this should not be ignored. Claire stood in the aisle. "She has been talking nonstop for 20 minutes. She's fine." Lena turned the meter so her camera could see it without announcing the number to the whole cabin. "She is not fine. She needs carbohydrates, protein, and safe food. Not peanuts. Not seafood. Not a voucher." Ethan looked toward Maya. "Miss Williams, do you want us to request medical removal before takeoff?" Maya knew what he was doing. If she said yes, she would be removed from the plane and framed as the cause of the delay. If she said no, they would claim she refused assistance. "I want the medical accommodation your airline confirmed," she said. "That meal is no longer available because you gave it away." Ethan looked at his report. The meal was reassigned due to service limitations. Lena's head snapped up. "That is false. It was sitting on a tray with her name on it." Victoria finally turned from the window. "Must you keep repeating yourself? Everyone heard you." Lena looked at her. "Good." Victoria's lips tightened. "You have no idea who you are embarrassing." Samuel spoke before Lena could. "I think that's becoming clearer by the minute." The plane paused near the runway. The engines grew louder. Maya's phone buzzed in her hand. She glanced down. Naomi, again. "Everything okay? You missed the prep call. Board team, asking if you'll review final clauses tonight." Maya locked the screen quickly, but not before Ethan's eyes dropped toward it. He did not see enough. Only a name, maybe. A notification, but it made him suspicious. "Business? Emergency?" he asked. Maya did not answer. Victoria leaned closer. "Maybe she's worried her supervisor will see this." Maya looked at her. "My supervisor?" Victoria smiled thinly. "Everyone answers to someone, dear." Maya held her gaze. "Yes, some people answer to truth. Others only answer when the cameras turn on." The aircraft began its takeoff roll before Victoria could reply. For those seconds, no one spoke. The engines roared, the cabin pressed back, and Atlanta fell away beneath them. Maya closed her eyes through the climb, not from fear of flying, but because the pressure in her head was getting worse. Her body wanted food. Her mind wanted clarity. Her heart wanted not to be forced to choose between safety and dignity. Once the seatbelt sign remained on but the climb steadied, Ethan returned to the aisle. He had waited until the plane was airborne. That made everything worse. Now Maya could not simply demand to leave. Now they were all locked inside the same decision. "Miss Williams," he said, "the captain has authorized me to inform you that if your recording continues, authorities will be requested at JFK. This will be documented as refusal to comply with crew instruction." Maya lifted her phone slightly. "Say that again." Ethan's jaw tightened. "I will not perform for your camera. You had no problem writing a performance into that report." Claire stepped in behind him. "You are making yourself look worse." Maya looked at Claire. "Worse than what?" "A woman sitting in the seat she paid for, asking for the meal your airline confirmed." "You were offered options," Claire said. "Unsafe options." Victoria pressed her call button. Claire immediately softened. "Yes, Mrs. Langford." Victoria handed back the empty coffee cup from her own service. "Another coffee. And please, something sweet if you have it. All this unpleasantness has given me a headache." Lena stared at her. "You cannot be serious." Victoria looked straight at Maya. "I'm very serious. Some of us can still accept service graciously." Claire reached into the cart and took out a small packet of cookies. Lena saw the label. "Are those safe for her?" Claire looked confused. "For Mrs. Langford?" "For Maya." Claire's face flattened. "These are for Mrs. Langford." Maya watched Victoria accept the cookies. Her own stomach tightened painfully. Samuel Reed pressed his call button. Claire ignored it. He pressed it again. Ethan turned. "Sir, please be patient." Samuel held out a wrapped granola bar from his jacket pocket. "Miss Williams can have this, if it's safe." Lena took it, checked the label, and shook her head. "Contains peanuts. Samuel's face fell. I'm sorry. Maya touched his arm lightly. Thank you for trying. That small kindness nearly broke her more than the cruelty had. She looked away before anyone saw her eyes change. Ethan folded his report under his arm. The captain's decision stands. One more refusal to follow instruction, and law enforcement will meet this aircraft. Maya swallowed. Then include this in your report. I am not refusing safety. I am refusing silence. Lena's camera caught it. So did the man in row 2. So did the older woman across the aisle. Claire crossed her arms. You think a video will save you? Maya looked at her phone, then at the passengers now watching without hiding. No, she said. But it may save the next person from you. For the first time, no one answered her. Not Claire. Not Ethan. Not Victoria. Outside, the plane climbed into the dark. Inside, the first video began uploading from Lena Ortiz's phone. Slow at first, then faster as the in-flight Wi-Fi connected. Maya did not know it yet, but the truth had already left the cabin. The upload did not finish quickly. Lena kept watching the progress bar on her phone while keeping one eye on Maya. The video had started moving through the in-flight Wi-Fi in broken pieces, a few seconds at a time. The caption was already written, short and clear. Young black woman in first class had coffee snatched from her hand. Denied confirmed medical meal. Threatened with arrest at JFK. Then offered unsafe food. White VIP is eating her medical meal. She had not posted it yet. She wanted one more piece of proof. Across the aisle, Maya sat too still. That worried Lena more than if Maya had been angry. In the emergency room, patients in real trouble often became quiet first. They stopped arguing. They started conserving energy. Their bodies chose survival over explanation. Lena leaned forward. Maya, look at me for a second. Maya turned slowly. I'm here. Are you nauseous? A little. Lightheaded? Yes. Any tightness in your throat? No. Not yet. The last 2 words made Lena's face harden. Not yet is not good enough. Claire was at the front of the cabin pouring coffee for Victoria. The smell drifted back toward Maya, warm and bitter, almost insulting now. Victoria accepted her cup with both hands and took a slow sip. Finally, Victoria said, something normal. Samuel Reed heard her and looked away in disgust. Lena pressed the call button again. Claire did not come. Lena pressed it a second time. Holding it down longer, Claire looked up from the galley. I see it. Then answer it, Lena said. Ethan Cole stepped out instead. Miss Ortiz, the call button is for service needs, not harassment. Lena held up the glucose meter. Her blood sugar is low. She is symptomatic. And she has not received the meal your airline confirmed. That is a service need. Ethan looked at Maya. Miss Williams has already been offered alternatives. Unsafe alternatives. That is your opinion. It is my medical assessment. You are not the medical authority on this aircraft. Lena stood as far as her seatbelt allowed. Then who is? The flight attendant who threw away her coffee? The supervisor writing a false report? The passenger eating the tray with her name on it? A few passengers murmured. Ethan's eyes moved over them, taking inventory of who might become a problem. Claire came down the aisle holding a small basket. We have a snack option. Lena glanced at it and immediately said, Stop. Claire ignored her and placed a small packet on Maya's tray table. Peanuts. For a moment, Maya only looked at the packet. It was blue, sealed, ordinary, the kind of thing handed out on airplanes without thought. But after everything she had said, after the email, after the label, after Lena's warning, the packet looked deliberate. Maya lifted her eyes. I told you I can't have peanuts. Claire folded her arms. Then don't eat them. Lena's voice rose. Are you serious? She told you she has allergies. Claire snapped back. First class only has this left. Eat it or don't. The older woman across the aisle gasped. Her husband whispered her name, but she shook him off. That is cruel, the woman said. Claire turned on her. Ma'am, I need you to stay out of this. No, the woman said, surprising even herself. I have stayed out of it long enough. Samuel Reed nodded once. Slowly, Maya picked up the packet with 2 fingers and placed it beside her printed confirmation email, where both cameras could see it. "For the record," she said, her voice quieter now. "After being told I have allergies and a confirmed medical meal, Crestline Airways has offered me peanuts." Lena's thumb hit post. The first video went live. Ethan saw the motion. "Did you just upload that?" Lena looked him in the eye. "Yes." Claire took a step back. "You can't do that." "I did." Ethan's voice dropped. "You may have exposed yourself to legal action." Lena did not blink. "Good. Then your lawyers can watch it too." Victoria set her coffee down hard enough that it spilled slightly into the saucer. "This is outrageous. I want her removed too." Lena turned toward her. "You want the nurse removed from the passenger you helped endanger?" "I helped no one endanger anyone," Victoria said. "I accepted a meal I was given, with her name on it. I never looked at the label." Samuel spoke from 2C. "No. But you heard all of us say it." Victoria's face tightened. "You people are enjoying this." Maya looked at her. "No one is enjoying this." Victoria's eyes moved to the peanut packet, then to Maya's shaking hand. She looked away before guilt could become visible. Lena checked her phone. The video had 8 views, then 32, then 112. She kept her voice low. "It's starting." Maya did not ask what. She knew. Ethan stepped closer to Maya, bending slightly so the rest of the cabin would have to strain to hear him. "Miss Williams, I am giving you one final opportunity. Turn off your phone. Stop encouraging other passengers to interfere, and I will note in my report that you calmed down." Maya looked tired now, but her eyes remained clear. "I am not encouraging anyone. They are responding to what you are doing. You are creating a public spectacle. You created a private harm. The public part is your problem." His expression changed. The mask slipped just enough to show anger. "Do you understand what happens when police meet a passenger at the gate?" he asked. "Yes." "Do you understand that your name goes into a report?" "Yes." "Do you understand employers, clients, and security agencies can find reports like that?" Maya felt those words hit. He did not know who she was, but he knew how to threaten what people worked for. He knew how to make a person imagine the phone calls, the explanations, the suspicion that would remain even after the truth came out. She looked down at her cuff, at the coffee stain Claire had left there. It had dried into the fabric. Then she looked back at Ethan. "Do you understand what happens when the report is false and the video is real?" Ethan straightened. The man in row 2 spoke for the first time with full confidence. "I heard the threat." The older woman added, "So did I." Samuel said, "And I heard him ask her to sign a lie." Ethan turned toward them. "I advise all of you to consider whether you want to be involved in an official investigation." Samuel leaned back slightly. "At my age, son, threats don't have the same flavor they used to." A few passengers shifted. Someone behind the curtain laughed once, nervously, then stopped. Claire returned to the galley, whispering sharply into the interphone. Ethan followed halfway, but kept looking back at Maya. Lena's phone buzzed. Then again, then again. The video had passed 1,000 views. A comment appeared at the top. "They gave a hypoglycemic passenger peanuts after stealing her medical meal." Another. "Airline crew trying to turn medical neglect into an unruly passenger case." Another. "Who is the woman eating her food?" Lena took a breath. "Maya, people are seeing it." Maya closed her eyes briefly. Not relief, not victory, just the heavy knowledge that once truth left your hands, it became something you could not fully control. Her phone buzzed again. "Naomi." Maya did not open it. Victoria glanced toward Lena's phone. "What are you looking at?" Lena said nothing. Victoria's own phone, lying on her armrest, lit up with a message. She looked down casually, then froze. "Patricia from Charity Board." "Victoria, is this you in some airline video?" Victoria snatched the phone up and turned the screen away. Samuel saw enough. So did Lena. Claire returned with a plastic cup of water and placed it on Maya's tray table, as if performing generosity under protest. "There," she said. "Water." Lena stared at her. "Water does not replace food." Claire lowered her voice. "Nothing we do is going to satisfy you people, is it?" The words sat in the cabin. "You people." Maya slowly lifted her phone, ensuring it still captured Claire's name badge. "Could you repeat that?" Maya asked. Claire's face drained. Ethan appeared behind her. Claire. Galley. Now. But it was too late. Lena's second clip was already recording. The older woman across the aisle covered her mouth. The man in row 2 shook his head. Samuel Reed closed his eyes for 1 second, as if the sentence had taken him somewhere old and painful. Maya's hand trembled again, harder this time. She reached for another glucose tablet, but the small case slipped from her fingers and hit the floor. Lena was out of her seat immediately. Maya, stay with me. I'm okay, Maya said, but the words came too slowly. No, you are not. Lena picked up the case, took out a tablet, and handed it to her. Put this under your tongue. Now. Claire watched from the galley but did not move to help. Victoria was no longer drinking her coffee. She was staring at her phone as more messages arrived. Ethan spoke quietly into the interphone, his back to the cabin. Lena crouched beside Maya, keeping her voice calm. Breathe with me. In through your nose. Slow. Good. Again. Maya followed as best she could. Samuel leaned into the aisle. Can I do anything? Ask them for juice, Lena said. Samuel pressed the call button again. She needs juice. Claire did not move. The call light glowed above Maya's seat. No one from the crew answered it. Lena looked into her camera and spoke clearly. For the record, a passenger with documented hypoglycemia is asking for safe food or juice. The call light is on. The crew is not responding. The video kept recording. Somewhere over the dark eastern sky, first class had stopped being a cabin and become a witness stand. Lena stayed beside Maya until the tablet had dissolved and Maya's breathing became steadier. It was not enough, but it bought time. In emergency care, sometimes that was all a person had. A few more minutes, a few more clear words, one more chance for someone in authority to do the right thing. Maya opened her eyes fully and looked at Lena. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Lena said. You still need food. Samuel Reed pressed the call button again. The small light above Maya's seat remained on. Claire was in the galley, speaking to Ethan, both of them pretending not to see it. The man in row 2 stood halfway, stopped by his seatbelt, and called toward the front. She asked for juice. Ethan stepped out. Sir, remain seated. She needs juice, the man repeated. That nurse told you. We are handling the matter. No, Samuel said. You're waiting for the matter to become someone else's fault. Ethan turned toward him. Sir, I will not warn you again. Samuel looked up at him without fear. At 72, warnings don't impress me much. Victoria Langford, who had been hunched over her phone, suddenly stood. This has become harassment. I am the one being harassed now. Lena looked up from Maya's side. You're sitting there with coffee and cookies after eating her medical meal. Victoria's voice rose. I did not steal anything. You demanded it. I accepted what the airline gave me. And now you're watching the woman it belonged to nearly pass out. Victoria's face tightened. That is a disgusting accusation. No, Lena said. It's an accurate description. Claire came down the aisle quickly, finally carrying a small carton of orange juice. For a second, Maya thought someone had listened. Then Claire stopped beside Victoria and handed the juice to her. For your headache, Mrs. Langford. The cabin reacted at once. Not loudly, but enough. A gasp, a curse, under someone's breath. The older woman across the aisle said, Oh, my lord. Lena stood fully now. You gave the juice to her? Claire stiffened. Mrs. Langford requested service. Maya needs it medically. Claire turned to Maya. If Miss Williams needed juice, she could have asked politely, instead of creating a scene. Maya's voice was low. I asked. You accused. I documented. Victoria took the juice carton and set it beside her coffee without opening it. That was the worst part. She did not even want it. She wanted possession. She wanted the cabin to understand who could still receive service and who had to beg for it. Samuel Reed slowly rose as far as his seatbelt allowed. Ma'am, give her the juice. Victoria looked at him as if he had spoken out of turn in her own home. Sit down. Give her the juice. Ethan moved toward Samuel. Sir, sit down now. Samuel did not move. I spent 40 years teaching children what courage looked like. I'd be ashamed to sit quiet now. Maya turned to him. Mr. Reed, please. I don't want them using you too. Samuel looked at her gently. Child, they've been using silence all night. Lena's phone continued recording. The comments on her first video were multiplying so quickly she could no longer read them all. Her second clip, the one with Claire saying, "You people," had just begun uploading. She kept one hand near Maya's shoulder, ready if Maya swayed. Victoria picked up the unopened juice and held it out toward Claire. Take this away. I don't want anything touched by this circus. Claire reached for it. Lena stepped into the aisle. Give it to Maya. Claire froze. Move back to your seat. Give her the juice. Ethan's face darkened. Miss Ortiz, this is your final warning. Lena looked at him. Then make it useful. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the older woman across the aisle unbuckled her seatbelt. Her husband whispered, Margaret, no. But she reached into her tote bag and pulled out a small apple juice box. I have this, she said, for my grandson. It's sealed. Lena took it quickly and checked the label. Maya, this should be safe. No nuts, no seafood, just juice. Maya accepted it with both hands. The straw shook slightly as she pushed it in. She drank slowly, under Lena's watch. Claire stared as if the act of one passenger helping another had personally insulted her. Ethan spoke into his tablet. Passenger interference, expanding to multiple seats. The man in row 2 snapped. Are you serious? Ethan did not look up. I am documenting events. No, the man said. You are manufacturing them. Maya drank half the juice and closed her eyes for a moment. The sugar would help. It would not fix the larger problem. Her safe meal was gone. Her name had been turned into a report. Her calm had been labeled defiance. Her need had been treated as inconvenience. Victoria's phone began ringing. She looked at the screen and rejected the call. A moment later, another call came in. Then a text. Then another. Her composure started to fray. She opened one message and went still. Maya could not read it. But Lena's camera caught Victoria's expression. Fear had finally entered the cabin, but not for Maya's health. For Victoria's reputation, Ethan noticed Victoria's face. Mrs. Langford? She held the phone close to her chest. Someone posted something. Claire's head turned quickly. Lena said, Yes, I did. Victoria stared at her. Take it down. No, you have no right to put me online. You had no right to eat her medical meal. Victoria's voice sharpened. You little. Careful, Samuel said. Victoria looked around and realized several cameras were pointed toward her. The insult died before she finished it. Maya opened her eyes and set the juice box down. Mrs. Langford, you can still tell the truth. Victoria laughed once, too loudly. The truth? The truth is, you turned a misunderstanding into an attack on me. Maya shook her head. No, I gave you every chance to stop participating. I was served a meal. You heard my name. You heard medical. You heard no substitutions. You watched me shake. And you ate anyway. Victoria looked toward Ethan. Are you going to allow her to speak to me like this? Maya answered before he could. From now on, I speak whether you allow it or not. The words settled over the cabin. Claire looked down. Ethan's mouth tightened. Samuel nodded, almost to himself. Lena's phone buzzed again. She glanced at it and inhaled sharply. What? Maya asked. The first video just crossed 50,000 views. Claire's face went pale. Ethan stepped toward Lena. Show me. No. Ms. Ortiz. No. Lena repeated. You've written enough false records tonight. You don't get to supervise mine. Victoria began typing quickly, then stopped, then deleted whatever she had written. Her phone rang again. This time she answered in a whisper. Not now, Patricia. The voice on the other end was loud enough for the nearest seats to hear. Victoria, are you on a plane? Is that you in the video? Victoria ended the call. No one spoke for several seconds. Then Captain Mallory's voice came through the cabin speaker, controlled and formal. Ladies and gentlemen, we are expecting a smooth flight into New York. Please remain seated while the crew continues service. Service. The word made the older woman named Margaret shake her head. If this is service, I'd hate to see neglect. Maya felt the juice beginning to work, but weakness still sat behind her eyes. Lena checked her again, quietly this time. Samuel offered a clean napkin. Margaret offered another juice for later. The man in row 2 gave his name to Lena in case a witness statement was needed. One by one, ordinary people began doing what the crew would not. Ethan saw it happening. That was when his concern shifted from controlling Maya to controlling the story. He leaned close to Claire in the galley. "We need to finalize the report before landing," Claire whispered. "What about the videos?" "We stick to non-compliance." She looks sick. She refused alternatives. Claire looked back at Maya, then at the peanut packet still lying beside the confirmation email. For the first time, guilt almost reached her face. Ethan saw it and lowered his voice. "Do not start thinking now." Lena's camera caught the whisper, not clearly enough to hear every word, but clearly enough to show the pressure. Maya watched them from 1B. Her body was still weak, but her mind was clear. The airline had taken her coffee. It had taken her meal. It had threatened her name, her freedom, and her future. But it had failed to take the one thing it needed most. It had failed to take the record. Ethan spent the next 20 minutes building a version of the flight that did not match the flight anyone else had seen. He stood in the forward galley with his tablet angled away from the cabin. Claire stood beside him, arms folded tightly, checking the aisle every few seconds. Captain Mallory remained behind the cockpit door, but his presence hung over the cabin through Ethan's report, through Claire's warnings, through the threat of airport police waiting at JFK. Maya watched them work. She knew what a false record looked like. In her industry, companies rarely admitted bias directly. They buried it inside categories: difficult customer, unverified complaint, escalated tone, service misunderstanding, non-compliant user. The words changed, but the purpose stayed the same. Make the person harmed look like the cause of the harm. Ethan typed with focus. Claire whispered, "Should we mention the medical meal?" "We mentioned she refused alternatives," Ethan said. "She's on video saying allergies. Then we write that she claimed allergies but refused crew-provided options." Claire looked toward Maya. "Lena has the peanut packet on camera." Ethan stopped typing for half a second. "Then we do not mention peanuts." Claire swallowed. "And the coffee?" She became agitated during beverage service. Claire's eyes flickered. "That's not exactly..." Ethan looked at her. "Do you want to explain why you grabbed something from her hand?" Claire went quiet. Maya could not hear every word, but Lena's phone was angled toward the galley, capturing their posture, their whispering, the way Claire kept glancing back at the cabin like a child caught near broken glass. Lena sat beside Maya now, with permission from the older woman across the aisle, Margaret, who had traded seats temporarily so Lena could stay close. It was not official. It was not approved. It was human. "How are you feeling?" Lena asked. "Better than 20 minutes ago." "That is not the same as well." "I know." Lena checked her again with the calm precision of someone used to making decisions under fluorescent hospital lights. "Your hands are steadier." The juice helped. "But you still need real food." Maya looked toward Victoria's seat. The tray was gone now. Claire had taken it away. But everyone who mattered had seen the label before it disappeared. Maya's phone buzzed again. "Naomi." This time Maya opened the message. "Crestline prep team says Whitman wants confirmation. You're still attending tomorrow. Are you delayed?" Maya typed slowly. "I am on Crestline Flight 608. Incident on board. Preserve all contract files. Do not contact Crestline yet. Legal standby." Naomi replied within seconds. "Are you safe?" Maya looked at the peanut packet beside her confirmation email, then toward the galley where Ethan was writing her into a lie. "Not entirely. I will update when we land." She locked the phone and placed it back beside the email. Samuel Reed leaned across the aisle. "You told someone?" "My assistant." "Good. She'll worry." Samuel nodded. "That's what good people do when they care." Maya let that settle. Care had become visible in strange places tonight. In Lena's steady hands, in Margaret's juice box, in Samuel's quiet courage, in the man from row 2 giving his name for a witness statement. None of them had needed to know Maya was a CEO to see she was being wronged. That mattered. It mattered more than the contract, more than the board meeting, more than any number attached to her company. Victoria did not share that view. She sat rigidly, in one, a phone in her lap, thumbs moving in quick bursts. She had stopped asking for service. She had stopped smiling. Every few minutes, her phone lit up with another message. Maya saw only fragments when the screen tilted toward the aisle. "Is this you? Victoria, call me. What happened on that plane?" The public version of Victoria Langford was beginning to crack before the plane had even started its descent. For a woman who lived behind polished charity events and donor luncheons, exposure was its own form of turbulence. She looked at Maya suddenly. "You think this makes you noble?" Maya turned to her. "No. You think strangers on the internet know the whole story? No. That's why the record matters." Victoria leaned closer, lowering her voice. "You have no idea what kind of damage this can do." Maya looked at the empty place where her meal had been. "I know exactly what damage looks like." Victoria's lips pressed together. "People like me built institutions. We support hospitals, schools, scholarships. One unpleasant flight does not erase a lifetime of contributions." Samuel spoke before Maya could. "A lifetime of contributions does not purchase the right to harm someone in public." Victoria turned on him. "You have been waiting all night to lecture me." "No," Samuel said. "I've been waiting all night for you to be ashamed." Victoria looked away first. At the front, Ethan finished typing and walked back toward Maya with Claire behind him. He held the tablet like evidence, though it was only his version of events. "Miss Williams," he said, "the report has been completed for the captain's review." Maya looked up. "Am I allowed to read what you wrote about me?" "No." "Then it is not a report. It is an accusation. It is an internal crew safety document. About me. About the incident." "What incident?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "Your refusal to comply with crew instructions." Lena lifted her phone. "Say the part about the medical meal." Ethan ignored her. Maya asked, "Did you include that my confirmed medical meal was served to Mrs. Langford? The report notes a meal service disagreement. Did you include that Claire threw away my coffee? The report notes elevated tension during beverage service. Did you include that I was offered peanuts after stating I had allergies?" Claire's face went pale. Ethan said, "You were offered available snacks." Margaret, seated now in Lena's original seat at 3A, said loudly, "That is not what happened." The man in row 2 added, "You are lying in real time." Ethan turned toward him. "Sir, I advise you to lower your voice." "My voice is fine." Captain Mallory's voice came over the speaker again, this time not for the entire plane but through the front cabin handset, amplified just enough from the galley speaker that first class could hear parts of it. "Ethan, status?" Ethan lifted the handset near the curtain. "Passenger remains non-compliant. Multiple passengers now interfering and recording." Maya stood up. Not fully. Just enough to rise from the seat as far as her belt allowed. Lena immediately touched her arm. "Careful." Maya nodded, then spoke toward the front. "Captain Mallory, this is Maya Williams in seat 1B. Before you classify me as non-compliant, I am asking you to review my confirmation email, the medical meal label, and the video evidence from passengers." Ethan covered the handset. "Sit down." "I am seated." "You are escalating." "I am asking the captain to review evidence before involving police." There was a pause. Then Mallory's voice came back through the handset, clipped and impatient. "Miss Williams, you have been instructed to comply. This matter will be reviewed after landing." Maya replied, "Will police be waiting for me at JFK?" Another pause. Ethan looked furious. Captain Mallory said, "If the crew determines it is necessary, yes." Lena spoke clearly. "Captain, I am an emergency nurse. This passenger has documented hypoglycemia and allergies. Your crew denied her confirmed meal, served it to another passenger, and offered peanuts after being informed of allergies." Mallory's answer came quickly. "Ma'am, unless the crew requests medical assistance, remain seated and discontinue interference." Lena stared at the handset. "You are refusing medical input? I am instructing you to remain seated." Samuel leaned forward. "Captain, you've been told the truth by half this cabin." Ethan snapped. "Sir, enough." But it was not enough anymore. The older woman, Margaret, raised her phone. "My name is Margaret Ellis. I heard the attendant tell Miss Williams she could not speak unless allowed. I saw the meal label. I gave Miss Williams juice because the crew would not." The man in row 2 raised his phone as well. "David Kaplan, seat 2A. I heard Mr. Cole threaten police over a recording," Samuel added. "Samuel Reed, seat 2C. I saw the meal served to Mrs. Langford after Miss Williams showed confirmation." Lena's camera moved from face to face. Ethan looked around the cabin, and for the first time, he seemed to understand that the report on his tablet was no longer the only record being written. Captain Mallory's voice cut through again. "Ethan, return to the cockpit area." Ethan lowered the handset and looked at Maya. His voice was quiet now, but it carried a different kind of threat. "You have made this much worse for yourself." Maya looked at him. "No, I made it harder for you to make it disappear." Claire stood frozen behind Ethan. The color had not returned to her face. Victoria's phone rang again. She looked down, saw the name, and declined the call with shaking fingers. Lena glanced at her own screen. The first video had passed 200,000 views. The second clip, with Claire saying, "You people," was climbing faster. "Maya," Lena said softly. "News accounts are picking it up." Maya closed her eyes for a second. She had wanted a quiet flight, a safe meal, a few hours to review contract terms before morning. Instead, the company waiting for her signature was turning her into an airport security case while the internet watched. The cabin lights dimmed slightly as the plane settled into cruising altitude. Claire retreated to the galley. Ethan returned to the front. Captain Mallory stayed behind the cockpit door, but first class no longer belonged to them. It belonged to the witnesses. By the time the aircraft crossed over Virginia, Lena's phone would not stop vibrating. She had turned the sound off, but the screen kept lighting up in her lap. New comments, new shares, new tags. A local Atlanta reporter had reposted the first clip. An aviation watchdog account had shared the second. A civil rights attorney with nearly 500,000 followers had written one sentence above the video. "This is how medical neglect becomes a police report." Lena read it twice, then looked at Maya. Maya had seen enough from Lena's face to understand that the video was no longer just evidence. It had become public. "How bad?" Maya asked. Lena kept her voice low. "The first clip is past 600,000 views." Maya's eyes closed briefly. Samuel Reed leaned in from 2C. "That's not bad, Miss Williams. That's light." Maya opened her eyes. "Light can burn." Samuel nodded. "Only what was already dry." Across the aisle, Margaret Ellis clutched her phone with both hands while her husband watched the numbers climb over her shoulder. David Kaplan, in 2A, had already sent his contact information to Lena and offered to make a formal statement after landing. 2 passengers from the first row of economy had asked if they could share what they heard from behind the curtain. In the galley, the mood was changing faster than the cabin pressure. Claire stared at her phone, as if it had betrayed her. Ethan had told her not to look, which only made her look more. The first video showed her standing over Maya with the tray. The second showed the peanut packet beside the confirmation email. The third was shorter but worse. Claire's voice saying, "Nothing we do is going to satisfy you people. Is it?" She watched that clip once and felt her stomach drop. "They cut it," she whispered. Ethan did not look up from his tablet. "Don't say anything else. They're saying I'm racist." "Then, stop giving them more material." Claire's eyes filled with panic. "You told me to hold the line. I told you to follow service protocol." She stared at him. "That's not what happened." Ethan finally looked at her. "It is now." Claire understood him then. If this became an investigation, he would leave her standing alone in the center of it. Victoria would deny asking for anything improper. Captain Mallory would say he acted on information provided by the cabin supervisor. Ethan would say Claire mishandled the initial service interaction. The chain would break at the lowest link it could afford to lose. She looked back toward Maya. Maya was seated quietly, one hand resting near the printed confirmation, the other around the juice box Margaret had given her. She looked tired, too tired, but not defeated. Claire looked away first. Victoria Langford was no longer pretending to be calm. Her phone had been buzzing for half an hour. She had rejected calls from 2 friends, one board member from her foundation, and her husband's chief of staff. Now she had 27 unread messages. She opened one from her sister. Victoria, tell me this is not you eating that girl's medical meal. Victoria typed. It is being taken out of context. Before she could send it, another message arrived from her husband. Do not respond publicly. Call me the moment you land. This is already reaching donors. Victoria deleted her first reply and locked the phone with trembling fingers. Maya watched her without satisfaction. Fear had reached Victoria at last, but it had not entered through conscience. It had entered through reputation. Ethan stepped back into the aisle with the interphone in his hand. Ladies and gentlemen in the forward cabin, I need everyone to discontinue recording crew and other passengers. Continued recording may be included in the incident report. David Kaplan looked up from 2A. You can include my name correctly this time. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Sir, this is your final warning. David held up his phone. You said that to her too. Seems to be your only tool. A few passengers murmured agreement. Ethan raised his voice slightly. This is an active safety matter. Lena stood just enough for him to see her. No, it is an active accountability matter. Miss Ortiz, sit down. I am seated. You are still interfering. I'm monitoring a passenger you refused to feed. Claire stepped out of the galley. She was not refused food. Margaret turned in her seat. You gave her peanuts after she said she was allergic. Claire's mouth opened, but nothing useful came out. Samuel said, and you gave the juice to the woman who didn't need it. Victoria snapped. Leave me out of this. Maya looked at her. You put yourself in it. When you pointed at my tray. Victoria's face tightened. I did not know your name was on it. You knew before you ate it. That ended the exchange. The seatbelt sign turned on with a soft chime. Captain Mallory's voice followed. Ladies and gentlemen, we're beginning our initial descent into New York. Please return to your seats and secure all items for landing. His tone was calm, but first class could hear the strain beneath it. In the cockpit, Mallory had already received a message from Crestline Operations. Urgent. Viral passenger incident involving Flight 608. Preserve crew reports. Do not delete communications. Corporate legal monitoring. He read it once. Then again. He did not show it to the first officer. For 30 years, Richard Mallory had believed that authority meant deciding quickly and standing firm. But as the aircraft began descending toward New York, he felt the difference between firmness and error. Firmness held ground. Error dug a hole and called it ground. He opened the internal report Ethan had sent. Passenger refused standard meal alternative. Passenger recorded crew after instruction to stop. Passenger encouraged other passengers to interfere. Passenger displayed disruptive conduct. Recommend airport law enforcement meet aircraft upon arrival. Mallory stared at the line about disruptive conduct. Then another operations message arrived. Public clips appear to show medical meal served to another passenger. Allegation of passenger with hypoglycemia denied safe food. Confirm facts immediately. Mallory's jaw tightened. Confirm facts. He should have done that before takeoff. In first class, Ethan returned from the cockpit area with a face that had lost some color. Claire saw it. What happened? Nothing. That's not nothing. Stop talking. Ethan. I said stop talking. Maya heard the exchange. So did Lena. Lena leaned close to Maya. Something changed. Maya looked toward Ethan. Corporate saw it. How do you know? Because men like him only get quiet when someone above them starts asking questions. Maya's phone buzzed again. Naomi, the video is everywhere. Are you the passenger? Please answer. Maya typed. Yes. I am stable for now. Do not contact Crestline. Preserve all communications. Prepare legal and board files. I want everything time-stamped. Naomi replied. Understood. Are they aware who you are? Maya looked at Ethan, then at Victoria, then at the cockpit door. No. Naomi's next reply came quickly. Then, let them finish choosing. Maya almost smiled. Naomi understood her too well. The descent grew steeper. Cabin lights brightened. Claire moved through the aisle checking seatbelts, but she avoided Maya's eyes. When she reached 1B, she stopped at a distance. Seat, belt, fastened? Maya lifted the belt slightly. Yes. Claire looked at the phone in Maya's hand. Secure your device. Maya placed it in her blazer pocket with the camera still running, lens angled upward. Secured. Claire did not challenge her. That alone told Maya how much had changed. Victoria pressed her call button. No one answered. She pressed it again. Claire looked toward Ethan, unsure whether to go. Ethan shook his head almost imperceptibly. Victoria saw it. For the first time all night, Crestline's loyalty did not move toward her. Her face hardened with disbelief. Claire. Claire did not come. The plane dropped through clouds, and city lights appeared beneath them. New York spread out in broken gold lines beyond the window. Maya had imagined using this descent to review talking points for the morning meeting. Instead, she sat with a coffee stain on her cuff, a peanut packet on her tray table, and a false report waiting somewhere in the airline's system. Lena checked the video again. 2 million. Maya looked at her. Already? Already. Samuel exhaled. Truth travels faster when people try to bury it. Captain Mallory's voice came over the speaker again. Flight attendants, prepare for landing. Ethan walked down the aisle one last time before taking his jump seat. Miss Williams, he said quietly, when we land, remain seated until instructed. Maya looked up. Will police be at the gate? He did not answer. That is a yes, Lena said. Ethan looked at her, then back at Maya. This could have been handled quietly. Maya's voice was calm. It should have been handled correctly. The aircraft dipped lower. Wheels lowered beneath them with a heavy mechanical sound. Victoria stared out the window, her phone locked in both hands. Claire strapped into the front jump seat, breathing too fast. Ethan sat opposite her, report tablet on his lap, no longer typing. Behind the cockpit door, Captain Mallory watched the runway lights approach and knew corporate legal might be waiting before the police were. Maya rested one hand on her phone and the other on the confirmation email. The wheels hit the runway at JFK just after midnight. No one in first class clapped. As the aircraft slowed, Lena's phone buzzed again and again. She looked down, then looked at Maya. 5 million views, she said. Before Maya could answer, Claire's work phone lit up in the galley with a message from Crestline Operations, crew of Flight 608. Do not deplane until met by corporate security. All devices and reports preserved. Claire read it and went white. Ethan saw the message at the same time. Victoria's phone rang again. This time, the caller ID was her husband. Maya looked out at the lights of JFK, then back at the aisle where Claire, Ethan, and Captain Mallory would soon have to explain what they had done before they knew who she was. The flight was over. The reckoning had just begun. The plane rolled toward the gate in a silence that did not belong to air travel. Normally, this was the part where people checked watches, gathered chargers, and complained about tight connections. Tonight, first class sat still. Even the passengers who had not recorded anything seemed afraid to move too quickly, as if the wrong gesture might disturb the evidence hanging in the air. Claire remained strapped into the jump seat, staring down at her work phone. Ethan sat across from her, his tablet dark on his lap, his jaw tight. Neither of them spoke. The message from Crestline Operations had changed the cabin more than any announcement could have. Do not deplane until met by corporate security. All devices and reports preserved. Maya watched them from 1B. Her body was steadier now, but the weakness had not fully passed. Margaret's juice had helped. Lena's care had helped. The kindness of strangers had helped more than the airline had. Lena leaned close. When we stop, don't stand up too fast. Maya nodded. I won't. Do you want medical staff at the gate? Maya looked toward Claire and Ethan. I want them to explain why medical staff were not called when you asked. Lena understood. Then I'll stay with you. Samuel Reed turned from 2C. So will I. David Kaplan in 2A raised a hand. I'm not leaving until somebody takes my statement. Margaret Ellis, now back beside her husband, said, Neither am I. The aircraft stopped at the gate with a soft jolt. The seatbelt sign went off. In most of the plane, passengers stood at once. Overhead bins opened behind the curtain. Luggage thumped. People in economy, unaware of the full story, began shifting into the aisle. In first class, no one stood except Victoria Langford. She rose quickly, clutching her handbag and phone. Her cream blazer was still smooth, but her face was not. She looked toward the front door, then toward the galley, then back at the passengers watching her. "I have a car waiting," she said to no one in particular. Claire did not move to help her. Victoria's eyes sharpened. Claire. Claire looked at Ethan. Ethan looked at the closed aircraft door. "No one," answered Victoria. That was when she understood that the protection she had counted on was thinning. She stepped into the aisle anyway. Lena lifted her phone again. "Mrs. Langford, are you leaving before speaking to corporate security?" Victoria turned. "I don't answer to you." Samuel spoke quietly. "Tonight you may have to answer to more people than you planned." Victoria's phone rang again. She looked down and saw her husband's name. This time, she answered in a whisper. "Robert. Not now." His voice was loud enough for the first two rows to hear. "Do not speak to reporters. Do not post. Do not say another word until legal calls you." Victoria's mouth tightened. "There are no reporters on the aircraft." From behind the curtain, someone said, "There are reporters already tweeting from the terminal." Victoria ended the call. The aircraft door opened. Two uniformed airport police officers stood outside with a Crestline ground manager, and two people in dark suits, wearing corporate badges. One of the suited people, a woman in her 40s with a tablet tucked against her side, stepped into the aircraft first. "I'm Denise Harper, Crestline Corporate Security," she said. Her voice was controlled, but her eyes moved quickly from Claire to Ethan to Maya. "No crew member from Flight 608 is to leave the aircraft until instructed. Captain Mallory is to remain available. We need all incident reports, crew devices used for reporting, and service documentation preserved." Claire's face lost the last of its color. Ethan stood. "Miss Harper, I have the report prepared." "I'm aware," Denise said. "Do not alter it." "I wasn't going to." She looked at him. "Good." Then she turned to Maya. "Miss Williams?" Maya did not stand yet. "Yes, I understand there was an incident involving a meal accommodation." Lena spoke before Maya could. "There was medical neglect and a threat of arrest." Denise looked at her. "And you are?" "Lena Ortiz, emergency nurse, seat 3A. I have video, blood sugar readings, and a timeline." Denise's expression changed, not dramatically, but enough. "Please remain available." "I plan to." An airport police officer stepped forward. Ethan glanced at him and seemed to gather confidence from the uniform. "Officer," Ethan said. "This passenger continued recording after crew instruction and created a cabin disruption. We requested law enforcement presence as a precaution." The officer looked toward Maya. She was seated, pale, composed, with a printed medical confirmation still on her tray table and a peanut packet beside it like an accusation. He did not reach for cuffs. "What exactly is she accused of?" the officer asked. Ethan paused. "Non-compliance with crew instruction." "What instruction?" "To stop recording." The officer looked at Denise, then at Maya. "Was there a safety threat?" Maya answered calmly, "No. I was seated the entire time. I recorded after my coffee was taken from my hand. My confirmed medical meal was served to another passenger, and I was threatened with arrest," Lena added. "She was also symptomatic. I asked for juice and safe food. The crew did not respond. Another passenger gave her juice. Margaret lifted her hand. "That was me," Samuel said. "I saw the whole thing," David added. "So did I." The officer looked back at Ethan. "That doesn't sound like a restraint situation." Ethan's mouth tightened. "You're hearing one side." Denise Harper looked around the cabin, where at least 6 phones were still visible. "I suspect we're hearing several." Victoria tried to move toward the door. Denise stopped her with one hand, polite but firm. "Mrs. Langford, please remain here." Victoria stiffened. "I am a passenger. You cannot hold me." "No one is holding you," Denise said. "But corporate legal has requested your contact information and statement before you leave. My statement can go through my attorney. That is your choice." Victoria lifted her chin. "Then that is my choice." As she stepped forward, a young man from the first row of economy held up his phone. "Mrs. Langford, did you know it was her medical meal when you ate it?" Victoria spun toward him. "Do not film me." The airport officer raised a hand. Everyone, keep the aisle clear. Victoria put on sunglasses even though it was after midnight inside an aircraft. She pushed past the ground manager and disappeared into the jet bridge, but not before two passengers captured the image of her leaving with her head down and her handbag clutched tight. Claire watched her go with something like disbelief. Victoria had not looked back once. Denise turned to Claire. "Miss Donovan, where is the meal tray?" Claire swallowed. "It was cleared." "Where?" "In the galley cart. Do not remove or discard it." Claire nodded. Denise looked at Ethan. "Mr. Cole, your report says the passenger refused reasonable meal alternatives. What alternatives?" Ethan glanced at Claire. "Standard dinner, courtesy credit, available snacks." Lena picked up the peanut packet from Maya's tray table. This was the available snack. Denise stared at it. After the passenger reported a peanut allergy, no one answered. That silence did more damage than any confession could have. Maya slowly unbuckled her seatbelt. Lena stood with her immediately, one hand near Maya's elbow but not touching without permission. "I'm okay," Maya said softly. "I know," Lena replied. "I'm still standing here." Maya gathered her laptop, phone, confirmation email, and boarding documents. She left the peanut packet on the tray table until Denise photographed it. As Maya stepped into the aisle, Claire looked at her. For the first time, there was no arrogance in her face, only fear. "Maya," Claire began, then stopped, as if using her first name had suddenly sounded too familiar. Maya paused. "Miss Williams." Claire's eyes dropped. "Miss Williams." Maya waited. Claire said nothing else. Maya walked past her. In the jet bridge, the air felt cooler. Airport sounds reached her all at once. Rolling suitcases, cleaning carts, distant announcements, footsteps echoing against the walls. Naomi called again. This time Maya answered. Naomi did not say hello. "Tell me you are safe." "I'm off the plane. Thank God." "The videos are everywhere. Crestline's board is in emergency session. Douglas Whitman's office has called 3 times asking whether you are still attending tomorrow." Maya stopped halfway down the jet bridge. Behind her, Lena, Samuel, Margaret, and David followed at a respectful distance. Ahead, Denise Harper was speaking into her phone, words clipped and urgent. Maya looked back through the open aircraft door. Claire stood near the galley. Ethan was speaking to the officer. Captain Mallory had appeared at the cockpit entrance, reading something on his tablet with a face that had gone gray. Naomi's voice sharpened. "Maya, do they know?" Maya looked at the Crestline logo painted beside the aircraft door. "No," she said. "Not yet." There was a pause. Then, Naomi understood. "What do you want me to do?" "Preserve every contract file. Notify legal to prepare a termination review, but do not send it. I want the board packet, the partnership agreement, the due diligence notes, and every complaint analysis we prepared on Crestline ready tonight. Maya, they're going to try to settle this before morning." "I know. With money. I know." Naomi's voice went quiet. "Then, what are you going to do?" Maya stepped into the terminal, where several people had already recognized Lena from the video, and were pointing toward the jet bridge. "I'm going to let them tell me exactly what they think I'm worth before they find out who I am." Naomi exhaled. "I'll have legal waiting." Maya ended the call. Across the terminal, a television above a closed airport bar showed breaking news graphics. There was no sound, only captions, but Maya could read enough. Crestline Airways. Passenger incident goes viral after medical meal dispute. Lena came to stand beside her. "You okay?" Maya looked at the screen, then at the reflection of herself beneath it. Charcoal blazer, coffee stain on the cuff, tired eyes, shoulders still straight. "No," she said, "but I'm ready." Behind them, inside the aircraft, Claire Donovan's employee badge stopped working for the first time when she tried to unlock a crew cabinet. She stared at the red light. The night was moving faster now. Maya did not go to the hotel first. Denise Harper led her through a side corridor of the terminal, away from the growing crowd near the arrival gate. Lena, Samuel, Margaret, and David followed long enough to give their names and contact information to corporate security. Each of them offered the same thing without being asked twice. Video, statements, timestamps, Anything needed. When Samuel handed over his phone number, he looked at Maya. You don't owe them gentleness. Maya gave him a tired smile. I know, he nodded. But I suspect you'll give them truth, which will hurt more. Lena stayed beside Maya a moment longer. Do you want me at the meeting? Maya looked at her. They may try to make this sound smaller than it was. A nurse in the room would make that harder. Then I'm coming. Denise hesitated. Miss Williams, corporate has arranged a conference room at the airport business center first, but Mr. Whitman is requesting that we move to Crestline's Manhattan crisis office. He says the board is joining remotely. Maya looked at the time on her phone. It was 12:41 a.m. Tell Mr. Whitman I will meet him tonight, she said, but not alone. Miss Ortiz comes with me. My counsel joins by video, and every word is recorded. Denise nodded. Understood. Naomi had already sent a car. It was waiting outside arrivals. A black SUV with a driver holding a tablet that displayed only one word. Williams. Maya paused when she saw it. For the first time that night, something from her own world had reached her. Not the airline's world. Not Claire's world. Not Victoria's world. Hers. Lena noticed. That your car? My assistant doesn't wait for permission. Good assistant. The best. In the back seat, Maya finally leaned her head against the leather and closed her eyes. She did not sleep. She listened to Naomi on speakerphone, rapid and controlled, walking through what had happened since the plane landed. The first clip is past 5 million views. The second, the one with the peanuts and you people, is climbing faster. 3 national outlets have requested comment. Crestline's public account posted that they are aware of a customer service concern, and people are tearing them apart for using that phrase. Maya opened her eyes. Customer service concern. I know. Save that post. Already archived. Their legal department has called Williams Meridian twice, asking whether tomorrow's signing is still confirmed. What did you say? That you were unavailable for comment. Lena sat beside Maya, arms crossed, jaw tight. They still don't know? Naomi heard her through the phone. Is that Miss Ortiz? Yes, Maya said. She's with me. Naomi's voice softened. Thank you for helping her. Lena looked out the window at the passing lights of Queens. They shouldn't have made it necessary. The SUV crossed into Manhattan under a dark sky. The city was not asleep. It never really was. Delivery bikes moved through wet streets. Steam rose from grates. A couple argued outside a closed diner. A doorman in a long coat held an umbrella for a woman stepping from a cab. Ordinary life kept moving, indifferent to one woman's humiliation and one corporation's panic. Crestline's crisis office occupied the 36th floor of a glass tower near Bryant Park. By the time Maya arrived, the lobby security guard already knew her name. That told her Douglas Whitman had begun preparing the stage. Denise met them inside and escorted them upstairs. The conference room was too bright, too cold, and too clean. A long walnut table sat in the center. Screens lined one wall, filled with remote faces, board members, legal counsel, communications officers, investor relations, human resources. Some wore suits, some wore sweaters hastily pulled over shirts. All of them had the same look people wore when a disaster had interrupted their certainty. Douglas Whitman stood at the far end of the table. He was in his early 60s, silver-haired, narrow-faced, and dressed in a navy suit without a tie. He had the controlled urgency of a man who believed every problem had a number attached to it. Beside him sat a woman from legal, 2 communications executives, and a man from investor relations who kept refreshing something on his laptop. Douglas stepped forward with both hands open. Miss Williams, he said, thank you for coming in at this hour. I'm Douglas Whitman, interim chairman of Crestline Airways. First, let me say that we deeply regret your unpleasant experience tonight. Maya did not sit. Unpleasant experience? Douglas paused just long enough to realize she had caught the phrase. A very serious service failure, he corrected. Lena gave a short, humorless breath. Douglas glanced at her. And you are? Lena Ortiz, emergency nurse. Seat 3A. I recorded what your crew did after ignoring a medical warning. The legal officer leaned forward. Miss Ortiz, We appreciate your concern, but this meeting is intended to resolve Miss Williams's passenger claim. Maya looked at her. Miss Ortiz stays. Douglas lifted a hand before legal could object. Of course. He gestured toward the table. Please, sit. You must be exhausted. Maya sat slowly. Lena took the chair beside her. Maya placed her phone on the table, screen up, recording. Then she placed the printed confirmation email beside it. The coffee stain was still visible on her blazer cuff. Douglas noticed it. His eyes stayed on the stain half a second too long. We want to make this right, he said. How? Douglas looked to legal. The woman slid a folder across the table. Douglas opened it and turned it toward Maya. Inside was a check made out to Maya Williams for $100,000. Beside it was a non-disclosure agreement. Lena stared at it. You've got to be kidding. Douglas did not look at her. Miss Williams, this amount is more than 50 times the cost of your fare. We will also provide lifetime Diamond Elite status, a written apology from our Customer Relations Division, and private medical expense reimbursement if needed. Maya looked at the check. She did not touch it. Douglas continued, choosing each word carefully. In return, we ask that you sign a standard confidentiality agreement and request that your associates remove or stop distributing the videos until our internal process is complete. My associates? The nurse. Other passengers. Whoever is amplifying this online. Lena sat forward. My name is Lena. Douglas gave her a tight smile. Miss Ortiz. Maya looked at the NDA. You want the videos taken down? We want time to investigate responsibly. No. You want time to breathe before morning. The room went quiet. Douglas's expression shifted. Miss Williams. Tomorrow morning is extremely important for this company. We have a critical $80 million signing with our strategic AI partner, Williams Meridian Group. That agreement will modernize our customer service systems and help prevent exactly this kind of unfortunate misunderstanding in the future. Maya slowly lifted her eyes from the check. Douglas went on, not yet understanding the danger. We cannot allow one small catering incident, however regrettable, to distract from the larger work we are trying to do. Lena turned to Maya, stunned. Small catering incident? Maya did not look away from Douglas. That is what you think happened? I think emotions are high, Douglas said. I think mistakes were made. I think the crew may have handled the matter poorly, but I also think a public fight helps no one. You are a young professional. I assume you understand reputation risk. Maya sat back. Yes, I understand reputation risk. Douglas seemed encouraged. Then you understand why we should settle this tonight. Quietly. Respectfully. Respectfully. Maya repeated. Yes. Your flight attendant took coffee from my hand and threw it away. Your crew gave my medical meal to a white VIP who had not reserved it. Your supervisor threatened to have me arrested at JFK. Your captain was told I had hypoglycemia and allergies and chose to document me as non-compliant. I was offered peanuts after stating I had allergies. Your passenger sat there eating my medical meal while I was shaking. And now you are offering me money to make the evidence disappear before your stock opens. Douglas's face tightened. Miss Williams, I would caution against framing this in a way that assumes intent. Maya looked around the room, at the faces on the screens, at the lawyers, at the communications team, at people who had studied the public reaction before studying her pain. Intent is what people argue after impact, she said. I am talking about what happened. A board member on one of the screens cleared his throat. Miss Williams, perhaps it would be best if we all took a breath. Mr. Whitman is offering a generous resolution. Lena's eyes widened. Generous? Maya lifted one hand slightly, and Lena stopped. Douglas pushed the folder a few inches closer. This can protect everyone involved. Maya looked at the check one more time. $100,000. To a passenger they thought was alone. To a woman they thought could be managed. To a name on a boarding pass that had not yet become a boardroom title. She thought of Claire's hand around her cup, Ethan's tablet, Captain Mallory's voice, Victoria's fork cutting into the meal labeled with her name. She thought of Margaret's juice box and Samuel's warning, and Lena crouched beside her in the aisle. Then she closed the folder and pushed it back. No. Douglas's expression cooled. I'm sorry? No. I will not sign your NDA. I will not ask anyone to remove evidence. And I will not let you call this small. The legal officer leaned in. Miss Williams, before you reject this offer, you should know that once public allegations escalate, the company will need to protect itself. Maya almost smiled. You are still doing it. Doing what? Threatening me politely. Douglas looked impatient now. Miss Williams, what exactly do you want? Maya looked at the screen full of board members, then at Douglas. I want the truth put on the table before I decide what happens at 9 a.m. Douglas frowned. What happens at 9? Maya did not answer yet. Instead, she took her tablet from her bag and placed it face down beside the closed folder. Call your full board, she said. Call legal. Call investor relations. Call whoever was planning to celebrate tomorrow's signing. Douglas stared at her. They are already here. Good. Maya's phone buzzed. Naomi had arrived in the virtual waiting room with counsel. Maya looked at Douglas. Then let's begin properly. 3 months later, Maya Williams boarded another Crestline Airways flight. This time, there were no cameras waiting at the gate. No corporate security officers in dark suits. No emergency phone calls from Naomi. No passenger whispering her name from a viral video. Just the ordinary noise of an afternoon flight from New York to Atlanta. Rolling suitcases, boarding groups, tired parents, business travelers, a grandfather trying to fit a gift bag into the overhead bin without crushing it. Maya stood in the jet bridge for one quiet second before stepping onto the aircraft. She had not flown Crestline since Flight 608. The airline had asked her to return sooner. Quietly, privately, with photographers if she wanted, with executives if she preferred. She had refused all of it. She did not want a staged apology. She did not want a smiling chairman beside her seat. She wanted to see whether the system worked when no one important was performing for a camera. The flight attendant at the door looked at her boarding pass and smiled. Good afternoon, Miss Williams. Welcome aboard. Maya watched her face carefully. The smile was professional, but not stiff. The greeting was simple. No flinch, no panic, no overdone apology. Thank you, Maya said. She walked to 1B. The seat was the same kind of seat she had occupied that night. Wide leather, polished armrest, small tray table, window to her left. For a moment, her body remembered before her mind could stop it. The missing coffee cup, Claire's voice, Ethan's tablet, Victoria's fork, the peanut packet, beside her medical confirmation. Maya placed her bag under the seat slowly. Then she sat down. A young flight attendant approached a minute later. She was black, maybe 24 or 25, with neat braids pulled into a low bun and a name badge that read, Ariel Johnson. She carried a tablet in one hand and a sealed service pouch in the other. Miss Williams? Ariel asked. Yes. Ariel smiled, but her eyes were serious. I'm Ariel. I'll be taking care of you today. Before we depart, I need to confirm your medical meal accommodation. Maya looked up. Ariel turned the tablet so Maya could see the screen. Seat 1B. Maya Williams. Medical meal. Low sugar, no seafood, no peanuts, no substitutions. Locked in the system. Only you can accept it. No crew member can reassign it. And any attempted change triggers a supervisor review. Maya read the screen. The words were ordinary. Policy language. System language. But her throat tightened anyway. That's correct, she said. Ariel placed the sealed pouch gently on the tray table. The label was printed in bold letters. Maya Williams' medical meal protected accommodation. No one can reassign it, Ariel said. Maya nodded. Good. Ariel hesitated, then reached for the service cart beside her and poured coffee into a paper cup with a lid. She set it beside the sealed meal. Black coffee, no sugar. It's in your preference profile, but I can change it if you'd like. No, Maya said. That's right. Ariel stepped back, but did not leave. Her hand rested lightly on the cart handle. Miss Williams, she said, lowering her voice. I know I'm supposed to keep this professional. Maya looked at her. Ariel swallowed. But I wanted to say thank you. Maya did not answer at once. Ariel glanced toward the galley, then back at Maya. I was hired through the new equity recruitment program. Before this, I worked customer service at Hartsfield-Jackson. I applied to Crestline twice and never got past the second interview. After the reforms, they reopened applications, changed the review process, and brought in outside oversight. I got a fair interview for the first time. Maya looked at the young woman's badge again. Ariel Johnson, Crestline Airways. Ariel continued. My mother saw your video. She cried. Not because of the firing, because she said, that girl stayed calm when they wanted her to break. Maya looked down at the coffee cup. Ariel's voice softened. Thank you for speaking up for all of us. For a moment, Maya could not trust her own voice. She wrapped one hand around the cup. It was warm, simple, hers. No one should have needed me to go through that for this to happen, Maya said. I know, Ariel replied. But you did, and it mattered. Across the aisle, an older man folded his newspaper and glanced over, not intruding, just listening. Behind them, a woman helped her husband adjust his seatbelt. A child in the first row of economy asked for apple juice. Ordinary things, human things, the kind of things Maya had wanted that night before the world turned cruel over a tray of food. Ariel stepped back. I'll check on you before takeoff. If you need anything, just press the call button. Maya almost smiled. And someone will answer? Ariel smiled too, but there was a weight behind it. Yes, ma'am. Someone will answer. She walked back toward the galley. Maya opened the lid of the coffee and took a slow sip. It was hot, slightly bitter, completely unremarkable. That was what nearly undid her. Not the apology, not the reforms, not the signed agreement that now bound Crestline to independent audits, public complaint reporting, mandatory medical escalation, and a full review of how unruly passenger reports were written. What moved her was the plain fact that she could sit in a first-class seat with a cup of coffee in her hand and no one could take it from her. After Flight 608, the consequences had come quickly. Claire Donovan and Ethan Cole never returned to Crestline. Their final administrative reviews confirmed what the videos had already shown. False documentation, misuse of passenger compliance procedures, and discriminatory service conduct. Captain Richard Mallory lost his command pending regulatory review and retired before the investigation was complete. He issued one written apology through an attorney. It was careful, formal, and too late. Victoria Langford's fall was louder. Her foundation lost 3 major sponsors in 48 hours. The private school board removed her name from its scholarship dinner. Her husband gave a statement about accountability, distance, and family privacy. A photograph of Victoria leaving JFK with sunglasses on, and her hand over her face ran on morning shows for 2 days. She later released a public apology that mentioned blind spots, pressure, and reflection. Maya read it once and never spoke her name again. Lena Ortiz received a Civic Courage Award from a nursing association in Queens. She hated the attention, but used the interview to talk about medical accommodations on flights. Samuel Reed wrote Maya a letter in careful handwriting on cream stationery. He told her his great-granddaughter had been born healthy, with a strong cry, and that he hoped she would grow up in a country where dignity did not need witnesses, but was glad, on that night, to have been one. Margaret Ellis mailed Maya a box of apple juice with a note that said, "For emergencies and revolutions." Maya kept that note in her office. Williams, Meridian did not sign the original agreement. They rewrote it. The new contract was harder, stricter, and far less comfortable for Crestline. It required outside oversight, transparent complaint data, passenger medical protection protocols, employee reporting channels, and bias audits reviewed at board level. Douglas Whitman had signed it 6 weeks after the incident, not with pride, but with the expression of a man who understood that saving a company sometimes meant admitting what had nearly destroyed it. Maya had not forgiven Crestline. Forgiveness was personal. Reform was measurable. She believed in measurable things. The boarding door closed. Ariel made the welcome announcement with a calm, clear voice. As the plane pushed back, Maya looked out the window at the runway. New York moved slowly past the glass. Her phone buzzed. A message from Naomi appeared. Back on Crestline today. How does it feel? Maya looked at the sealed meal, then at the coffee in her hand. then toward Ariel, who was helping an elderly passenger secure her cane safely beside the seat. Maya typed back, "Different." Naomi replied, "Good different or dangerous different?" Maya considered that. Honest different. She sent the message and placed the phone down. The plane turned toward the runway. Maya closed her eyes for a moment, and her father's voice came back to her from an old Birmingham kitchen. "Dignity is not something they hand you, baby. It is something you refuse to let them take." When she opened her eyes, Ariel was passing through the cabin one final time before takeoff. She stopped beside Maya. "All set, Miss Williams." Maya lifted the coffee slightly. "All set." Ariel nodded and moved on. The engines grew louder. The aircraft began its climb. Maya held the cup steady in her hand as the city dropped away beneath her. No one reached for it. No one told her to be quiet. No one made her prove that she belonged. And for the first time in months, the ordinary felt like justice. Not perfect justice. Not complete justice. Not the kind that erased what had happened, but the kind that left something behind for the next person. A policy. A record. A witness. A young attendant with a fair chance. A sealed meal with the right name on it. A cup of coffee that stayed where it belonged. Maya took another sip and looked out over the clouds. Dignity is not a privilege. It is the minimum. The lesson from Maya Williams's story is simple but powerful. Dignity should never depend on wealth, status, race, age, or job title. A person should not have to be a CEO, a public figure, or someone with influence to be treated with basic respect. Real justice begins when ordinary people refuse to stay silent, when witnesses choose truth over comfort, and when a system is forced to protect the vulnerable instead of defending the powerful. Thank you for listening to this story until the very end. If it moved you, made you think, or reminded you of something you have seen in real life, please share your thoughts with us in the comments. Your feedback helps us improve the way we tell these stories. And if you have a powerful true story, a family experience, or a meaningful lesson about justice, courage, kindness, or standing up against unfairness, we would be honored if you shared it with our channel. Your story might become the next voice that inspires someone else to speak up. This video is a work of fiction created with the assistance of artificial intelligence. All characters, events, and situations are not real and do not represent any actual people or true stories. The content is intended for storytelling and emotional illustration only.